Hello, and welcome to the spooky stacks in the sub-basement of the Central Library of Rochester and Monroe Counties Rundel Memorial Building on South Avenue. Since 1997, when the Bausch and Lomb Library building was built across the street, library staff have been reporting strange and unexplainable events in the Rundel building. Staff have heard voices and sometimes crying when no one else was around. They've seen heavy doors open and close themselves, elevators move without prompting. They've seen strange reflections in the glass in the stacks, and books have even flown off the shelf all by themselves. When the TV show Ghost Hunters investigated the hauntings in the library in 2012, we learned about the case of a young woman whose body had been discovered in the Johnson Seymour Mill race in the summer of 1902. The race was built in 1817 to power grist and sawmills. It still runs beneath the Rundel Memorial Building and is used to cool the library in the summer to this day. Some of us here in the library wonder if that young woman is haunting the library. Maybe she's behind the mysterious events that are common around here and that prompted the library to call ghost hunters in the first place. Let me tell you about it, and you can decide what you think. Our story begins on Sunday, August 10th, 1902. That day, a young couple named Andrew and Laura Young traveled to Buffalo with their friends Frank Couch and Margaret O'Leary. They intended to have a picnic, but what was supposed to be a pleasant excursion soon devolved into chaos. Frank and Margaret apparently decided to get married, but they couldn't find anyone who would agree to perform the ceremony. As members of the Rochester Diocese of the Catholic Church, priests in Buffalo did not want to get involved. The foursome ended up missing their train home that night, and instead, Andrew got drunk and launched into a tirade, accusing his wife Laura of infidelity. It was an interesting relationship anyway. It turns out that Laura and Andrew had been married for more than a year, and yet they had only just recently told their family and friends about their nuptials. After a night in Buffalo, the foursome finally returned home on Monday, August 11th. Frank and Margaret were married at St. Mary's Church, about a block away from the library here, and the friends decided to celebrate with a wedding dinner at a nearby saloon. Andrew's drinking escalated throughout dinner, and he began verbally abusing Laura, again accusing her of being unfaithful. Their argument spilled outside, and several witnesses saw Andrew push Laura into a flower bed. "Choke me if you will," she was heard yelling at him. Frank and Margaret left the bar at about 11 p.m. that night. It would be the last time that they saw Andrew and Laura together. Frank later returned to the bar, around midnight, he said, to find Andrew alone. When Frank asked about where Laura had gone, Andrew roared at him. Frank left, upset, and Andrew soon followed. There's evidence that from here, Andrew went to his business and then to his home, looking for money, cigars, and liquor, before finally returning to the center city. Later that morning, before sunrise, a Waylock employee found a hat on the towpath along the Erie Canal, just south of where the Dinosaur Barbecue sits today. At the time, the area looked quite different from how it appears today. There were three waterways running parallel to each other: the Genesee River, as we know it today, the Erie Canal, and the Johnson and Seymour Race, which we've already mentioned. The towpath ran between the canal and the raceway. Of course, in 1902, the library had not yet been built. The most prominent building on the block would have been the Osborne Hotel across the street from the library, roughly where the Bausch and Lomb Library stands today. On that Tuesday morning, the Waylock tender stooped to pick up the hat laying on the towpath. He noticed evidence of a scuffle nearby, what seemed to be two sets of footprints in the dirt, only about 1.5 feet from the edge of the mill race, just a little south of the Court Street Bridge. But there's nothing else to raise his suspicion, and so nobody investigated it any further. That Friday, a personal ad appeared in the newspaper. It read, "Will Mrs. B.Y. please return home?" The next morning, on Saturday, August 16th, Laura Young's body was discovered in the raceway, caught in a rack that blocked debris from being carried under the Erie Canal Aqueduct, which we know today as the Broad Street Bridge. Andrew would later claim that he had been searching for his wife all week, but he never reported her missing to police. A coroner's inquiry determined the cause of death to be drowning, but how Laura got into the race remains a mystery to this day. Some said it was suicide, others accident, but murder was never truly ruled out. The investigation and inquiry captured readers' attention for weeks. The stories read like a soap opera. Both Andrew and Laura were accused of infidelity, with Andrew allegedly planning to run away to Cleveland with a piano player. Andrew admitted to the inquiry that he had been drunk from Monday morning, when he said he last saw Laura, through the discovery of her body on Friday. So what happened that fateful summer night? Did Laura leave the bar alone, distraught over the turn her marriage had taken? Did she throw herself into the race for fear that her infidelities would be discovered? Or did she perhaps stumble into the water in the dark with no one nearby to notice? Or did she and Andrew leave the bar after their friends, continuing their argument as they walked along the towpath toward home? Did Andrew push her? Or perhaps there was a third person involved, Laura's lover, fearful that his own infidelities would be discovered. Andrew was cleared of suspicion in his wife's murder and even lived for a time with her parents. So we may never know what really happened on that fateful August night in 1902. But we're still left to wonder, could Laura be behind the mysterious events that are common around the library here and that prompted us to call ghost hunters in the first place? Perhaps, maybe Laura roams the library, hoping that some intrepid researcher will one day stumble onto the answer so that she may finally rest in peace. Thank you.